Journey of a Sister, Year 8, Profit with Purpose. Within the space of a year, Suzanne and Charles make their first million. They pay off their mortgage and enjoy a more stress-free life running their own business. They still work hard, but knowing they're fulfilling their twin soul mission makes the workload easier. The enthusiasm and joy they put into their work sends out positive vibes into the universe, which is reflected back into their life. It is their combined forces of thoughts, words and actions that helps to catapult their business into success. They came up with a divinely inspired poem, prayer, affirmation, which they speak out loud together every day. I am a superior being, each moment of every day. I am getting better and better in every possible way. I am a heavenly body, living in heavenly space. I am light, 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 flooding the world and blessing the human race, projecting their light from within. I am positively all-powerful, all-wise, and rich beyond measure. I am always bringing great news and good fortune to those whom I treasure. I am shining like the sun. I am healing everyone. I am healing every body. I am healing every soul. I am healing every creature. I am making the whole world whole. I am free, and my eternal ecstasy is the dream of heaven on earth. I am guarded, guided and provided for by the masters of the universe. I am hearing and seeing everything I am to hear and see. I am attracting and creating everything I am to happily be. £1 million might sound like a lot of money, but with the plans they have, this is just the beginning. They have a long-term strategy to build a large Nubian empire that helps them to gain financial independence and will also help others in their community who have been impoverished by the system. They know that according to the law of sowing and reaping, they must plant bigger and bigger money seeds in order to keep reaping larger harvests. Charles sets up a benevolence fund where he puts 10% of all their profits. Soon, he will be able to fulfill his dream of training young people who can't find work to set up their own businesses, learn new skills, and work towards financial freedom too. This is one way they are able to give back to their community. They also begin buying in artwork and poetry, which reflects the slogan of their business, touching the heart through art. It enables contributing artists and poets to benefit financially from their God-given talents, while at the same time helping to increase their range of designs. As their product range increases, so does their reputation for producing high-quality, inspirational greeting cards and prints using original artwork and poetry. Their products are known for leaving an indelible impression on their recipients and helping the environment. They receive hundreds of positive reviews, which attracts the interest of some large magazines. The feature articles help their sales figures skyrocket. They also use social media to promote their products and pay for advertising campaigns. Neither Charles nor Suzanne believe in profit without purpose. Both are clear that their business isn't just about making money, its purpose is to help heal their community and the world. Nubian Empire. A year after launching, they're able to realise Charles's vision of owning a high street shop where they fulfill personalised greeting card and print orders and sell products featuring art and poetry from the community. They now benefit from walk-in customers as well as online sales from all over the world via their website. They employ one staff member to work in the shop and one to work in the office above with Suzanne. Before recruiting, Charles and Suzanne had sat down together and wrote out job descriptions for each of the positions they wanted to fill. They then used their knowledge of numerology and astrology to determine which applicants would best suit each position. Once they were clear about the type of person they wanted to fill each position, they advertised, believing they would attract the right people. And they did. Their employees were selected by their birth dates, gender, as they wanted to achieve an equal balance of male and female energy in the office, heritage, whether Charles and Suzanne took to their spirit, and lastly, by their skill level, since they were prepared to train the right person for each job. Being on the same wavelength mentally makes a big difference to the smooth running of their business and their home life. There are no big arguments, no long silences, unless it's intentional, and there's generally a good vibe in and around them both. This feeling of unity flows from their home into the office, providing a peaceful and nurturing working environment. They agree to focus on the business during the week, but every other weekend, when they have the children, they switch off from work, as this is family time. On Saturdays, the boys work in the shop for their weekly pocket money. Micah helps out on the shop floor, and Elijah helps with the till and cashing up at the end of the day. Whenever Suzanne has a paid performance to attend, they all go as a family, but if it's an evening event, Charles will stay home while she goes with a girlfriend or two. They agree that even though they're now cohabiting, they should continue their personal development so that when they come together, they're stronger. Every other weekend is Charles and Suzanne's special time together without the children. Both are quite happy putting all their energies into building their business empire the rest of the time. Normally, by the end of the second week, they both have a build-up of sexual energy and look forward to their free weekends with anticipation. The Black Woman. The more Suzanne discovers about herself, the more she holds herself in high esteem. She has a newfound level of respect for herself. She learns that ancient African cultures were matrilineal, meaning one's lineage was traced through the mother. Women were the most important element of society. Queens didn't become queens because they were daughters or wives of kings. They had queens that succeeded queens. In ancient Kemet, renamed Egypt by Europeans, pharaohs were often pictured ruling side by side with their queens. Before making any major decisions, he listened to her counsel because she was the more intuitive of the two. Her feminine energy was needed to drive his egotistic masculine energy. She also discovers that black women carry the mother of all genes, mitochondrial DNA. mDNA is only found in women, and since it has been scientifically proven that all races can trace their DNA back to the black woman, she is rightfully known as the mother of all nations. Also known as the Eve gene, mitochondrial DNA is responsible for all variations of human beings. Genesis is genetics. It dawns on Suzanne that Eve in the Bible had been blamed for the fall of the whole of humanity, indirectly blaming the black woman. However, before European religions were created, women held a high position in society. It was the custom among Nubians that when a king died and left only a son, if he had a nephew, the son of his sister would reign instead of his own son. In other words, inheritance came through the woman, not the man. Yet somehow this had all been turned upside down. The divine feminine was removed from the creation story, and Eve was accused of causing the downfall of humanity resulting in women being forced to become subservient to men. The genealogy of Jesus and other prominent men in the Bible didn't even acknowledge women. It was even said that the Gospel of Mary, who was the closest disciple to Jesus, was omitted from the scriptures. Religion was used as a tool to suppress the feminine energy, which allowed the masculine energy to rise. Because men no longer sought counsel from their women, their ego created havoc. They took over religion, politics, law, education, business, and agriculture, causing extensive damage to Mother Earth and her inhabitants. Suzanne learns that the Christian cross she still wears is a direct derivative of the Ankh cross, which originated in ancient Kemet. The loop of the Ankh represents the womb, and the elongated bottom part represents the phallus. The line in the middle represents the two coming together to create life. With Christianity being a patriarchal religion, the loop representing the feminine principle was removed and replaced with another, smaller phallus. It then became the symbol of death instead of life. With the help of their religions, the masculine energy became dominant, forming a patriarchal mindset which allowed men to dominate women. Suzanne realizes it's the lack of feminine energy on the planet which has created an imbalance, and the masculine and feminine energies needed to become equal to create equilibrium. She believes women are naturally more intuitive than men and more in touch with their feelings, while men tend to act out of ego rather than emotion. Their need for power, status, and control causes them to oppress the one thing they cannot live without: the woman. By claiming that Eve was made from Adam's rib, allowed their religions to put women in a position lower than men instead of beside them. Suzanne suddenly remembers a part of her poem, I Am What I Will to Be, which had come as a download.
I am a channel. The ancestors speak through me, so listen carefully.
She recalls waiting to see what they were going to say. The next lines she wrote were,
I am the original woman. I was here first. Man came out of woman, he came out of she, male came out of female, and he came out of her. See, it's hidden in the words.
She thinks about how far women are from remembering themselves, putting themselves back together again, and wonders what she can do to help them regain their rightful position in the world. To be fair, it isn't all men who think like this. It's a small group of elitists who want to rule the world. The only way they can achieve their goal is by causing the black woman to forget who she is and her innate power. They know that the black woman has the strongest genes and they have the weakest. They also know that when the black man and black woman unite in a high state of consciousness, they can accomplish anything. So they had devised covert ways of keeping them apart. Their strategy was to break down their psyche using things they love the most: music, sex, spirituality, and food, especially chicken. Suzanne decides to start writing a blog to share what she has discovered. As she's writing, the key turns in the door and in walks Charles. She glances at the time. It's almost 10 p.m. "Hi babes, what are you doing up so late?" he asks, hanging up his coat. "I'm writing my first blog." "Really? What's it about?" "X and Y chromosomes." "Oh." He sits down beside her. "What about them?" "Well, when I used to read the Bible, the whole Adam and Eve story never really sat well with me. I didn't like the way Eve was blamed for tempting Adam to eat the forbidden fruit, which brought a curse on the whole of the human race. And ever since then, women have been oppressed by men. So I decided to explain how the story is flawed." "Go on." "Well, the Bible claims that Eve was made from Adam's rib. But that's scientifically impossible. Women's genes are XX and men's genes are XY. If God took a rib from Adam, he would have been left with either XV or YY. She writes the letters XY on her notepad and scribbles out the bottom right rib on the X, which leaves YY. She then writes another XY, this time scribbling out the bottom part of the Y, which leaves XV, to illustrate her point. But if a rib is removed from the XX chromosome, what are you left with? Charles takes her pen, draws 2 X's and scribbles out the bottom right rib on the second one. XY, he exclaims. He looks at her astonished. What does this prove? That it's scientifically impossible for women to be created from men. Men come from women, not the other way around. Be the source. Suzanne thinks about how much her life has changed. She now has the perfect partner for her, 2 great sons who she calls the jewels in her crown, a successful family business, an adorable stepdaughter, and they lack for nothing. Charles is by no means perfect, but by focusing on the positive aspects of his personality, she is able to draw more of that out of him. The more things she finds to love about him, the deeper her love for him grows and is reflected back to her. It works the same with the boys. Suzanne finds that if she rewards them with praise, they want to do more things to please her. Looking back on her life, she recalls how not that long ago, she was struggling to make ends meet, desperate to meet the one, and experiencing mental frustrations because of her insecurities. It was only when she had learned to let go of all her striving to be, do and have, and learned to just follow her bliss, that things began to flow her way. She had stopped telling herself, I don't deserve this, or I'm not worthy, and simply allowed her good to come to her, receiving it gratefully. Suzanne had learned that her life is not about acquiring things, it's about experiencing who she is. She began to feel joyful by doing things that made her feel happy. By feeling abundant within, she had attracted abundance. The secret was in learning that in order to receive what she desired, she first had to give. The law of reciprocity stated that if she desired to experience more love in her life, she had to give more love. If she wished to have more money, she has to demonstrate that she already has it and plant money seeds in fertile soil. If she aspired to gain more wisdom, she was to share the wisdom she already had. It was only when she began showing more love to herself that she received more love in abundance. It was only when she chose to be happy all the time that experiences came to keep her in a happy state. By choosing to remain healthy, she had learned how to heal thyself by eating the foods provided by Mother Nature, such as fruits, veg, nuts, seeds, grains, and herbs. Now, whenever she finds herself wishing for more of anything, she asks herself, I wonder if there's anyone else out there who wants more of this too. She then chooses to be the source in their lives, whether it's a friend, family member, or a complete stranger. It doesn't matter what it might be, she begins giving away anything she thinks she doesn't have enough of, whether it's patience, love, wisdom, compassion, money, or friendship. When she wants some, she finds other people who want more of the same and plants a seed in their life. The feeling of giving to others and making their life better gives her such an energy boost that her whole goal in life changes. She no longer focuses on getting things for herself, but having things so that she might give them away. Suzanne and Charles discover that the more they give, the more they receive. As they fulfill their purpose of giving, the universe opens up an unlimited supply because it knows there are now lots of people depending on them to be the source of it. Sharing the love. Even though they are now affluent, Suzanne and Charles don't see themselves as better off than others in their community. As far as they are concerned, we're all in this together. Suzanne wants to do whatever she can to help the feminine energy rise, starting with the way women think about themselves. Charles feels the same. Being a black brother, he had experienced how difficult it can be to navigate the system and come out whole. From school, college, university to finding work, he had to fight the subliminal messages which were constantly suggesting to him that he would never be as successful as his white counterparts. But he had a strong foundation in the home and was able to fight the system all the way to the top. Now he's in a position to make a difference and to help others. Charles is sympathetic towards his brothers who are still fighting the system daily. He has often heard stories of black men being abused by white racists in uniform, or of them being jailed for dealing drugs. They had been forced into these positions due to a lack of work or jobs not paying them enough money to support their children. Suzanne feels for her dark-skinned sisters who had been left on the shelf for white men to pick up due to social engineering. The media constantly sends out subliminal messages that black men are either in prison, unemployed, gay, drug dealers, in mental institutions, or with white women, so you might as well try something new. Black men are influenced through the elite-controlled media to reject their own women and to believe that white women are the standard of beauty. Black women are portrayed as hoes and bitches, angry, undesirable, crazy, and sexually repressed.
White women didn't have sexual inhibitions because they weren't raised in their organised religions. Yet secretly, white men desire black women, and white women wish they had the physical attributes of the black woman.
If the majority of black men and women were to continue believing the programming, where would that leave the black family in generations to come? The media continues to push images of light-skinned women with long hair in music videos and films,
which has caused dark-skinned women to indulge in skin bleaching and wig wearing,
as if they have to compete to get their man. Black women were being portrayed in a negative light, which was causing some men to look at them in a derogatory way, not as the queens they truly are. Suzanne and Charles discuss what they can do to help their people heal. They agree to start organising their own monthly events aimed at helping to build sustainable black relationships. Now that they have achieved love, peace and harmony within their own relationship, they are better able to spread it to their community. Year 9. Another level. It's been over a week since Suzanne and Charles last made love, but they had been so busy they'd hardly even noticed. Charles is in the office when he receives a text from Suzanne. "Tomorrow's the night, X," it says. Charles chuckles. "The night for what?" he texts back. "It's a surprise. Wink." Suzanne knows that Charles is meticulous and likes to plan ahead, so she decides to give him notice. Tomorrow will be Saturday, and it's their free weekend without the children. She's going to treat him for a change. She calls her hairdresser to see if she can get an appointment the following afternoon, and also books a manicure and pedicure. "So what do you have planned for tonight?" he asks the following morning. "We're going out," she responds, getting out of bed quite early. Oh, where? It's a surprise, remember? She smiles at him mischievously. Okay. So what's the dress code? Traditional. Wouldn't you rather just have an early night in? He asks with a glint in his eyes. There'll be plenty of time for that when we get back, she replies, unwrapping her silk scarf as she gets ready to leave. Where are you going? He asks. To the gym for a quick steam and sauna. Then I have an appointment at the hairdresser's. Oh, might as well come with you then. He stumbles out of bed and drags on a pair of jogging bottoms. Grabbing his gym bag, they leave the house together. Suzanne takes her own car, informing Charles that they must be ready to leave home by 6:30 that evening. They agree to be back home by 5 p.m. the latest. Charles does his workout, goes straight back home, has a shower, and spends the rest of the day relaxing, watching YouTube videos, and sleeping. He'd had a busy week at the office and is grateful for the peace and quiet. Suzanne returns home just before 4 p.m. Charles greets her with a hug, kiss, and a stiffy. Put that thing away, she laughs. Come on, we got time for a quickie, he murmurs into her ear. No, we haven't. Look at my hair. I'm not messing it up. Nice. He turns her around by the shoulders, full circle. I had my nails done too. She displays her French manicured fingernails. Lovely. But really, Charles only has one thing on his mind. I need to have a nap. Can you wake me up in a half an hour, please? Sure. He seems moody. Are you hungry? Starving, he replies, following her to their bedroom. He didn't know what she had planned, so hadn't eaten since lunchtime. Good, because we're going out to dinner. What kind of restaurant? African. After her nap, they start getting ready. What are you wearing? Charles asks. He likes to match the colour of his tie with whatever dress she's wearing when they go out together. They even have a few matching outfits. Suzanne walks into her wardrobe and chooses a vintage 70s dashiki tunic dress with bell sleeves. After laying it carefully on the bed, she heads for the bathroom. Charles looks in his wardrobe for his matching dashiki top, a pair of chinos, a brown belt and shoes. Suzanne returns from the bathroom and begins oiling her body. It isn't perfect, but she has learned to love herself unconditionally. Charles watches with a huge bulge in his white boxers as she lovingly caresses her skin, admiring herself in the mirror. Seeing his reflection, she turns to ask, Aren't you going to get ready? He walks over to her. Yeah, in a minute. He takes the bottle from her and begins oiling her back. Oh, thanks. He presses Pride against her from behind so she can feel his hard-on. Charles, she warns, if we don't hurry up, we're going to be late. Like a scolded schoolboy, he sulkily makes his way to the bathroom. When he returns from his cold shower, Suzanne is already dressed and is carefully applying her makeup in colours to match her dress, and liquid eyeliner to her top eyelid. She accentuates her lips with liner and applies Vaseline for shine. She then places a small hair clip with a rose attached to the side of her hair. You look stunning, Charles compliments. Thank you, darling. He pulls on a clean pair of boxers. I'm thinking about starting a martial arts class, he announces as he gets dressed. Really? Which one? Well, someone left flyers for Mashufa classes in the shop. Is that a form of martial arts? Yeah, it's African martial arts. I was thinking I could take the boys for the free taster session next Friday. Do you think they'd want to come? I'm sure they would. The only thing is, the classes are on a Friday evening, so if we do start going regularly, you'll have to look after Ebony. Would that be okay? It's fine by me. Dance in trance. They arrive back home in high spirits from the evening's entertainment. Suzanne had taken Charles to an African restaurant called Black to Africa, where they ate pounded yam, egusi stew, jollof rice, and other African delicacies, while watching the African bands play live. The djembe drumming, African dancing, kora playing and singing had gone straight to the core of their beings, reminding them of their roots. They had bought the band's CD and played it all the way back home, and by now, Suzanne is beginning to feel something awakening that had been buried deep within her DNA. Removing their shoes at the front door, they make their way to the master bedroom. Suzanne puts the CD in the stereo and presses the play button before lighting some candles. Meanwhile, Charles takes off his dashiki and chinos and sits on the bed, watching as Suzanne enters her walk-in wardrobe again. He knows her well enough by now to anticipate a treat. He thinks that perhaps she will reappear in some sexy lingerie, so isn't mentally prepared for what he sees when she does finally re-emerge. Suzanne seems to have transformed herself into some sort of exotic dancer, sexual healer, temple priestess. She's wearing a white see-through flowy dress thing which plunges into a V-shape at the neckline, right down to her navel. It's elasticated at the waist with long flowing bell sleeves. The skirting drops in multiple folds down to her ankles. Charles can see right through it, and she isn't wearing anything underneath. Her nipples protrude through the sheer material, demanding his attention. Around her forehead, she's wearing a gold chain with various symbols hanging from it. He'd never seen it before. She's barefooted, showing off her freshly manicured feet. She begins moving her body to the beat of the drums as something within her takes over. She twists and twirls, gyrating her hips in a sensual, sexual manner as she sends forth her inner womb message. The whole atmosphere in the room changes. Charles is aroused, moved almost to tears, and concerned all at the same time. The look on Suzanne's face is unlike anything he's seen before. She isn't focused on him. She appears to be in a trance-like state, totally caught up in the moment. The elongated shadows on the wall behind her, created by the candlelight, look like spirits dancing along with her. Perhaps she's invoking the spirits of her ancestors. Or is it the Holy Spirit? He can't tell. All he knows is it's a force of love. He feels at peace as he watches her. Where did she learn to dance like that? He wonders. When Suzanne finishes, she gracefully walks towards the bed, where Charles is lying propped up on one elbow. Is there no end to your talents? He asks in awe. I can do whatever I put my mind to, she replies as she sits next to him. He watches intently as she comes back to herself. They sit in silence for a few moments. Charles looks in deep thought before asking, if there was anywhere in the world that you could go, where would it be? Without having to think about it, Suzanne responds, Africa, my motherland. Africa's a big place. Which part? She pauses to think before replying, Egypt. Charles ponders as if in agreement. Then tracing a finger over the lump where her nipple is still protruding through the dress, he asks, Can I take this off now? She stands and raises her arms so he can lift off the dress easily. Noticing the music has stopped, he walks over to the stereo, starts the CD again from the beginning, and turns it up loud. He removes his boxers and socks as he makes his way back to the bed. Both of them are now bursting with passion. That night, when they make love, it's as if all the heavens, God, the angels and their ancestors are all watching and cheering them on. It feels like nothing they had ever experienced before. Suzanne cries from the bottom of her heart, and afterwards Charles clings on to her, remaining inside her long after he had ejaculated, as if not wanting to break the newly created bond between them. Announcement. A few days later, Charles turns up at the office in the late afternoon, having been AWOL all morning. "Where have you been?" Janice asks, looking at him suspiciously. She now works in the shop part-time. "Oh, just shopping," he replies vaguely. He beckons Micah to follow him upstairs, where Suzanne and Elijah are working in the office. "Hi, Han, what do you think of this one?" she greets him, holding up a piece of artwork submitted by an African artist. I like it. I can see it as a poster design with some inspirational words on top." "That's what I was thinking," she says enthusiastically. "Shall I accept it then?" "Speak with the designer first. We'll decide at the next staff meeting. How are you getting on, Elijah?" Elijah looks up from his work. "Not bad. I'm inputting the sales receipts into the spreadsheet like you showed me." "Great. I'll check them later. But right now, I have an announcement to make." Suzanne stops what she's doing. "What's up?" she asks. "Suzanne, boys, pack your bags. We're going on holiday," he says excitedly. "Holiday? Where?" she replies, looking puzzled. "To Egypt." "Egypt? But how?" "What do you mean, how? We're not exactly short of money, you know." "I know. I mean, what about the business, the boys' studies, and Ebony?" "Everything's been arranged. You forget there's a school break next week. Janice will manage the shop while we're away, and I've already told Maria I'll be away for 5 days. I'll make it up to Ebony when I get back." "Oh my God, Charles, are you serious?" "Yep. Let's close early and go shopping for some bits." Suzanne throws her arms around his neck. The boys join in a group hug. "I can't believe it! We're actually going to Egypt!" Ancient Kemet. They arrive in Cairo in the early hours of Monday morning after a short flight from Gatwick Airport and check into their 5-star hotel. The boys have their own room and quickly find young people their own age group to hang out with. Suzanne looks out of their hotel room window. They have a clear view of the Great Pyramid of Giza. "Wow, it's monumental!" "Wait until we get nearer to it then. I booked for us to go on the tour. The whole week's been planned." They spend the rest of their first day making full use of the hotel's excellent spa facilities, swimming in the outdoor pool, relaxing in the jacuzzi, then having a steam and sauna before having full body massages. Suzanne also has a seaweed facial. By the end of the day, they are totally relaxed and rejuvenated. They undo all the pampering when they make passionate love that night. Suzanne had put her hair in braids for the holiday, as Charles had said he wanted to teach her how to swim properly. Charles booked for them all to go scuba diving the following day. The boys and Suzanne are fascinated by the beauty of God's underwater creations, the intricate designs painted on all the different types of fishes, and the way the plants seem to have a life of their own as they swish and sway in the undercurrents. They collect some shells from the bottom of the ocean to bring back home. As Charles is the better swimmer, he makes sure Suzanne feels safe. Even though she wouldn't normally swim that deep, she put her trust in him. That evening, they all get dressed up and go down to the hotel's plush restaurant for dinner. As they search for a free table, an older African-American couple beckons them to join them at their table. "Come, sit down. It's good to see another black family here," Mr. Jones says enthusiastically. "Thank you. My name's Suzanne. This is my partner Charles, and this is Micah and Elijah." She introduces them all. "Welcome, welcome. Sit down. We're Mr. and Mrs. Jones, by the way. Where are you from?" asks Mrs. Jones. London. We have a business to run, so we can only stay for 5 days, Charles answers cheerfully. Nice to see a black family running their own business, Mr. Jones comments. What about you? What brings you here? Suzanne asks. We're celebrating our 28th wedding anniversary, announces Mrs. Jones. Wow, Suzanne says admirably. Congratulations. Charles shakes Mr. Jones's hand. So, are you married? I don't see no rings, Mr. Jones asks. We live together and we're very happy with the arrangement, aren't we, Charles? Suzanne looks to him for moral support. The boys snigger between themselves. Charles clears his throat. We've been thinking about it though, haven't we? He responds. Suzanne stands her ground. Well, I don't see how getting married will help us stay together. As long as we're both happy in our relationship and are committed to making it work, it will. So you wouldn't get married? Charles sounds shocked. Past caring. You're the one who said you were against the white wedding, remember? But if I wanted to get married, would you? Maybe. Charles breathes a sigh of relief. Mr. and Mrs. Jones are happily still in love after being together for 30 years. Their children are now grown up and they are enjoying having quality time with each other again. Suzanne wonders if they still have a sex life, but is too embarrassed to ask. They certainly look as if they're still physically attracted to each other. She wonders if she and Charles will still be attracted to each other in their 60s and beyond. They agree to meet with the Joneses for dinner every evening. The Pyramids. On the Wednesday, they leave their hotel at 7 a.m. to join a local excursion. They are going to visit one of the oldest remaining 7 wonders of the world, the Great Pyramid of Giza. The largest of the 3 main colossal monuments was originally built as a burial tomb for King Khufu in the 4th dynasty. Seeing the real thing is nothing like the pictures. But then, photographs could never capture the true significance of their existence. Their Egyptologist tour guide divulged much information about the pyramids, including the fact that the Great Pyramid of Giza had originally been covered in a smooth limestone casing, which had allegedly been stolen. There are a few casing stones still remaining at the base of the pyramid. One of the largest is nearly 5 feet high, weighing about 14 tons. The sheer magnitude of the pyramid means that a lot of limestone had been removed. Suzanne asks the tour guide what had been the purpose of the casing in the first place. She is told that it had acted like a mirror, causing the pyramid to reflect light. Suzanne, Charles and the boys are all interested to learn more about the pyramids, the Sphinx and their history. They decide to do more research when they get back to London. The guided tour only leaves more questions in Suzanne's mind, like, how were they built? Who stole the limestone casing? And what did they do with it? Charles paid extra for them to go inside the pyramid. As they entered a tunnel, they stoop down and follow the long, low passage leading to the Queen's chamber. As they enter, an unexplainable chill runs through Suzanne's whole body. Can you feel that? She turns to ask Charles and the boys. Feel what? None of them could feel anything out of the ordinary. I don't know. I can't explain it. I just feel strange, she replies. As they stand inside the chamber, an overwhelming sensation comes over Suzanne. She begins hyperventilating. Are you okay, Mum? Elijah asks. Yes, I don't know. Suzanne's inner voice advises her to go and stand in a particular spot. As she does so, she feels what she can only describe later as a download and passes out. You okay, hon? Charles asks with panic written all over his face. Some of the other tourists have also gathered around them. Yes, I'm fine, she responds matter-of-factly, as Charles helps her back on her feet. "Maybe we should go," he advises, looking around nervously. "No, I'm fine. I feel at home here." They continue walking around, admiring the sarcophagus, walls and ceiling carved out of thick granite stone. They sense a residue in the air of a people who were once a great civilization. Micah and Elijah comment how they were never taught about the ancient Egyptians in school. As they stand outside looking up at the hieroglyphs, Suzanne takes a photo of Charles. When they review it on her camera screen, it looks as if Charles is catching a sphere of light in his hand. She shows it to him. "Wow, how did you do that?" he asks in amazement. "I didn't do it, you did." They examine the image more closely. It's as if while Charles was paying homage to his ancestor, the soul of Imhotep had come down to greet him. It sends a shiver up their spines. It's a picture Charles will treasure for the rest of his life. Leaving the pyramids, they take a short camel ride through the desert to the Great Sphinx. The tour guide explains that at one point it had been buried neck deep in sand, but after excavation it now stands 200 feet long, 65 feet tall, with its face measuring 13 feet wide, facing the rising sun. It had been so revered by the ancients that they had built a temple in between its massive paws. It has the body of a lion and the face of a human. But is it a male or female? And is it the face of a Nubian
by the
or
author,
European?
Suzanne Poetess. Intro
When
and
Suzanne
outro music
asks
by my
the tour
youngest
guide
son,
what
Azabeth.
happened to the nose and
Edited
lips,
by my brother,
he informs
Antonio
them
Noel
that they had
of
been
Verbal
vandalised,
17 Productions.
but they weren't sure who
Music
by
for
or for
I
what
Am What I
reason.
Will to Be
But to
by
Suzanne and
Dave
Charles,
Anderson.
the reason is obvious. Souvenir shopping. On the Thursday, they hire an independent tour guide to take them to a local market where they barter for souvenirs. Charles buys Suzanne a solid gold Ankh necklace to replace the Christian cross she had stopped wearing. She buys the boys a silver one each as well, and a silver Ankh bracelet for Ebony, as well as souvenirs for friends and family. They arrive back at the hotel in the late afternoon. Suzanne decides to have a nap before getting ready for dinner. Charles is too excited to sleep. He heads down to the pool area to meet the boys. Surprise? This is their last evening in Egypt. They meet up with Mr. and Mrs. Jones for dinner again. As they leave their hotel room, Charles discreetly slips something into his trouser pocket. Linking hands, Suzanne and Charles make their way over to table 10, where Catherine and Sydney are already waiting for them. Charles looks cool in a pair of beige slacks, a white loose cotton shirt, and beige canvas loafers. Suzanne is wearing a white cotton dress that shows off her figure and white flat sandals. Her sun-kissed skin radiates against the white material. Her braids are styled away from her face, and wearing only lip gloss and lip liner, she has an all-natural look. "You look like just the perfect couple," Catherine compliments as they sit down. "Thank you," Suzanne replies as Charles pushes in her seat before sitting down himself. "Where are the boys?" asks Mr. Jones. "They'll be down in a minute." Micah and Elijah hurriedly enter, not wanting to miss anything. When Charles sees them coming, he stands up and announces loudly, "Today is a special day." Sydney winks at him. Just then, two brothers approach their table, playing Broken Sorrow on their violins. Suzanne gasps, "Look, boys, it's nothing but strings!" She points at them excitedly, recognizing them from one of Elijah's CDs. "Yeah, I know," Elijah replies, smiling knowingly. Charles turns and gives the violinists a nod of gratitude. That's when Suzanne realises what's going on. He then turns to her, takes a small box out of his pocket and gets on one knee. "Suzanne, you've made me a very happy man, and I think you'll be very happy married to me. Will you marry me?" Suzanne is taken aback, but decides not to give her hand away so easily. "You make me wait 8 years, and that's the best you can come up with. Why do you want to get married now? I thought you said you was against the white wedding." "Give him a break, Mum," Elijah intervenes, laughing. "Say yes," Micah adds. Caught off guard, Charles shuffles to his other knee. "Well, I think I've met my match. I know it's you I want to spend the rest of my life with. Plus, we need to set a good example for our children to follow." He smiles up at her, pleased with his reply. She warms to it too. "Charles, I would love to be your wife." He opens the box and takes out the ring. He tells her to look at the inscription inside before putting it on. Suzanne takes it from him. It has a large, rare, solitaire amethyst crystal in the shape of a love heart in the middle, flanked with 2 gold anks on either side, which match her necklace. Charles had remembered Suzanne saying she wouldn't wear diamonds because of the exploitation of children in Africa, but knew she liked the colour purple and crystals. Inside are engraved the words, "For life." She gasps and exclaims, "Charles, it's beautiful!" She couldn't have chosen a better ring for herself. She hands it back so he can slip it onto her finger. Charles stands on his feet to give his fiancée a long, slow kiss, while Nothing But Strings play a lively, upbeat tune. Everyone in the room gets up and starts clapping and dancing to celebrate, including the boys, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and the hotel staff. Charles invites the brothers to join them for dinner, but they have to leave. "Before you go, can we get a photo with you, please?" Suzanne grabs her camera. Mr. Jones offers to take the picture of them all together. As soon as the brothers leave, Suzanne exclaims, "Charles, don't tell me you flew them all the way over from America. That must have cost you a fortune." "Nah, we met them in the hotel lobby earlier. The boys recognised them, we got talking, and when I told them I was planning on proposing to you tonight, they offered to play." They had explained that a wealthy Arab family had commissioned them to play at their son's 21st birthday party, which is why they were in Egypt. "Phew, that was a stroke of luck," Suzanne breathes a sigh of relief. "It was meant to be," nods Mrs. Jones in approval. The secret. "What's the secret to your long and happy marriage?" Suzanne asks the Joneses. The couple look at each other before responding. Husband: "Always go to bed with forgiveness in your heart. Never carry hurt or begrudging over to the next day." Wife: "Pray together. Having God in the centre of our marriage is what keeps it strong." Husband: "I make sure to tell her I love her every day, and I mean it." Wife: "Make time for each other. Do you get weekends without the children?" "Yes, we do," Charles confirms. "Good. It's important in a relationship. When our children were young, we would share the care with my sister. Her children would come to ours one weekend a month, and ours would go to hers once a month. That way we all got a break." Husband: "Yeah, it's important to have a good support network around you. Either friends who are also married or couples like us who have been happily married for years, who can give you advice during the rough periods, because they will come. It's inevitable. But you gotta have stickability. Remember why you decided to get married in the first place. Remember the vows you made to each other." Suzanne asks, "Will you be our mentors?" Then turning to look at Charles, she adds, "I'd love to think that we'll still be in love after 30 years of marriage, like you are. We're not so much in love as in commitment to each other, Mrs. Jones corrects her. If you fall in love, it's just as easy to fall out of love again. But it's our commitment to each other that keeps us together, more than our love for each other. Still, Charles joins in. I agree. Will you be our mentors? In unison, the couple say, yes. Excitedly, they exchange email addresses and home phone numbers so they can keep in touch. When they arrive back in England, Suzanne and Charles can't wait to inform their family and friends about their decision to officially tie the knot. Breaking news. Suzanne trusts Charles implicitly. Even when he returns home late from visiting Ebony during the week, she never questions him. She has learnt not to entertain worst-case scenarios in her mind, imagining the things she doesn't want to happen. The more trust she puts in him, the more he is determined not to break it. Charles arrives at Maria's at 6 p.m. as usual. It's a Wednesday evening. Maria already has her coat on and announces she's going out. She's had her dinner and bath, so all you have to do is play with her till she's tired, then make her a cup of hot chocolate, she says as she hurries through the door. She's looking rather ravishing in a tight black sleeveless mini dress and high heels. Where's she going dressed like that? Charles wonders as he heads towards the living room. Ebony is sitting on the floor watching one of the DVDs from the classic Sesame Street collection he'd bought for her. When she hears his voice, she jumps up and runs towards him with arms outstretched. Daddy! Daddy! Ah, come here, my girl. He scoops her up and gives her a big hug and kiss. He spends the next couple of hours playing with Ebony, reading to her, and singing songs to her before she finally falls asleep in his arms after having her hot chocolate. Charles looks at his watch. It's 8 p.m. He should be leaving by now, but Maria isn't back yet. He carries his sleeping beauty upstairs and places her gently in her bed, tucks her in, and kisses her gently on the cheek. Returning to the living room, he opens his briefcase and takes out some papers. Might as well get some work done till Ria gets back. Another hour passes with still no sign of Maria. He calls her mobile. No reply. He doesn't bother to leave a message, thinking she'll call him back when she sees his missed call. Another hour passes. Suzanne calls. Where are you? I'm still at Maria's, babe. She went out. I'm waiting for her to get back before I can leave. A sudden surge of panic grips Suzanne, but she chooses not to entertain the thoughts that would make her doubt Charles' integrity. How's Ebony? She's perfect. She's fast asleep. As soon as her mum's back, I'm out of here. Okay, well, be home as soon as you can. I'm waiting up for you. I'll let you know when I'm on my way. Okay, babe. See you later. Love you. Love you too. It's gone 10 p.m. before the key finally turns in the door. Charles has dozed off, but the sound of the living room door opening wakes him up again. Maria enters looking ravishing and slightly dishevelled at the same time. She's obviously had a few glasses. She never could hold her drink. Hey, you still here? She slurs. Where did you expect me to have gone? My daughter's here, remember? It's not me that needs to remember, it's you, Maria states, removing her heels as she walks towards him. Charles stands up, putting himself on guard. Look, Ria, I'm really sorry things didn't work out between us, but you know I'm doing the best I can by you and Ebony. Well, your best isn't good enough. I'm a woman, Charles. I'm the mother of your child. I have needs. I want more. I want you back. He knew this was coming. He has to fight to resist the temptation. Now listen, Maria, it's not going to happen, he says, holding her by the arms as she tries to fling them round his neck. Why not? Look at me. She backs up and begins removing her clothes. No, Maria, stop! Charles rushes forward to prevent her going any further. Why? Don't you still want me? She asks seductively, stepping out of her dress. All she's wearing is the red Victoria's Secret bra and panty set he bought her before she had Ebony. She still looks great in it. Charles feels a stirring in his nether regions as he struggles to look away. He remembers Suzanne saying he's free to do as he pleases, but if he cheats on her, she would know. Is it worth the risk? No, he decides. Taking his mind off Maria's body and sex, he covers his eyes and says sternly, "Listen, Maria, I've got something I need to tell you." Hearing the seriousness in his tone, Maria stops making advances. What is it? Charles pauses before saying, "I'm getting married." What? Married? To who? Who do you think? Suzanne, of course. But why? What do you mean, why? Why would you marry her when you can have me? And your daughter is here. We could be a family. Stop right there, Maria. We tried that, remember? It didn't work. Yes, but I just had our baby. I wasn't myself. You could see that. Maria, please don't make this hard for me. You know we were never really meant to be. I'm glad we have Ebony, and you know I'll always support you in the best way I can. But it's Suzanne I love. We're getting married, Ria. I just wanted you to know. Without another word, Maria picks up her clothes from the floor, turns and heads slowly out of the door, as if in a daze. Ria! Charles calls after her. She continues upstairs to her bedroom without replying. He gathers his things together and leaves quietly. Best man. Charles calls Dave. Long time no hear. How's things, bro? Dave asks. Oh man, life just seems to get better and better, Charles replies enthusiastically. Wow, what's that woman doing to you? Dave asks in an amused tone. Charles chuckles. I've met my match, that's all I can say. Actually, I'm calling because I want you to be best man at my wedding. You're getting married? Yeah. Damn, she really has you hooked, hasn't she? What about Maria? What about her? Well, how did she react when you told her? She wasn't happy, as you can imagine, but life goes on, you know. Besides, technically, I was with Suzanne before I was with Ria. Yeah, but she's the one with your child. Suzanne already has 2 of her own. Are you planning on having one with her as well? I don't know. We'll see. Charles had never envisioned himself having children for different women, and the idea didn't really appeal to him or reflect his character. But he knows he has to be true to himself. Did you get your ring back from her? Dave asks. Course not. You mean you had to buy another ring? What? You think I'd take the ring off Ria and put it on Suzanne? You're crazy, man. They both laugh. Well, I'm happy for you, bro. So when's the big day? Dave asks. Next July. And we're getting married abroad, so you'll have to book the week off work. Narrated by the author, Shazan Poetess. Intro and outro music by my youngest son, Azaba. Edited by my brother, Antonio Noel of Virgo 17 Productions.